Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Things got spicy after Spurs edged Arsenal in Hong Kong. Richarlison tried to rub it in on social media, but Arsenal defender Gabriel wasn't having any of it firing back with Premier League receipts. Stay tuned as we break down the hilarious back and forth between the two Brazilian rivals and what it means for the North London rivalry heading into the new season. Let's get into it. Arsenal star Gabriel reminded compatriot Richarlison of the games that really matter after the rivals faced off in pre-season. Spurs and Brazil forward. Richarlison was on the winning side in Hong Kong and shared a photo of his Man of the Match award on social media. He also tagged Gabriel in the post in an apparent dig at the Gunners' centre back. The defender wasn't going to let that slide though, responding with photos of the 3 Man of the Match awards he won in Premier League games against Spurs. The first of the 3 awards came in the 2023-24 season, when Arsenal won 3-2 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Gabriel was also Man of the Match in both of last season's games, a 1-0 away win and 2-1 home victory for the Gunners. Arsenal had won both of their first 2 pre-season fixtures against AC Milan and Newcastle United. They came up short against their North London rivals though, with Pape Matar Sarr scoring the only goal of the game. Gabriel wasn't involved in the match in Hong Kong, as he continues to work his way back from injury. However, there were debuts for the Gunners' new striker Victor Gyökeres and centre-back Christian Mosquera. A big surprise because whenever we have them, new signings to participate in training sessions, in games, the attitude and especially the quality that they have has been incredible. So, very pleased. Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta said after the game. As I said, a lot of great things to take from this tour. The incredible camaraderie that we had between the players and the staff, and how I think everyone values where we are. It's been a long 2 weeks with a lot happening, a lot of things that you have to adapt in your preparation. But the attitude of everybody to make it happen, especially to everybody who has been involved in preparing all of the tour for us. A big thank you because they've done an amazing job. Spurs boss Thomas Frank was delighted with the result, even if it was a friendly. A 1-0 score against Arsenal is an absolutely beautiful score, he told club media. Yes, it is a friendly, but it's also a very competitive match. I said before the game that games against Arsenal are never friendly. It means everything. I have to give respect to both teams for their competitiveness in the game. It was very competitive. Tottenham Hotspur have been put on red alert after it was claimed on Tuesday that Harry Kane is making plans to return to the Premier League. Kane moved to Bayern Munich in the summer of 2023, and after missing out on the Bundesliga in his first season in Bavaria, he managed to complete his dream in the 2024-25 season. Heading into the new campaign, the England captain is preparing for further glory in Germany and potentially more silverware to add to the collection ahead of the World Cup in the United States. While Kane is not planning on leaving Munich this summer, the Telegraph understands that 2026 could be a big year for the forward, who will be 33 by then. They claim that Kane could seek a return back to the Premier League after the World Cup, which will undoubtedly alert Spurs fans. After Kane left Tottenham, Chairman Daniel Levy insisted that there is a buyback clause in the deal that saw the talisman leave. How exactly that works is unclear, but one school of thought is that Spurs would have first refusal to sign the striker. There is also believed to be a release clause in play for Kane to activate in January. It is claimed that should he activate that clause this winter, Bayern would be legally obligated to sell the forward for £54 million. As for whether Tottenham would be interested in signing Kane again, the answer is most likely to be yes. The striker has scored 85 goals in 96 appearances for Bayern and is showing no signs of slowing down. A return to the Premier League, whether with Tottenham or not, could be on Kane's radar sooner rather than later. The forward is currently just 47 goals behind Alan Shearer's record for all-time goalscorer in the division. Realistically, Kane would need at least 2 full seasons in the Premier League to set that record, and thus a move would need to be completed next summer to ensure he could have enough games in him to beat Shearer's figure of 200. Tottenham held an open training session on Tuesday in front of 10,000 fans at the Kai Tak Stadium in Hong Kong, as they continue their preparations ahead of the first ever North London derby outside of the UK. Spurs and Arsenal will come up against each other on Thursday, and new head coach Thomas Frank continued to get his methods across to his players with their latest training session, this time in front of thousands of supporters at the stadium, where they will take on the Gunners. The Dane has a big squad to work with, although certain departments within it are low on numbers due to injuries, with players left back at Hotspur Way to recover or rehabilitate. Our Tottenham correspondent Alistair Gold is in Hong Kong, and he was at the Kai Tak Stadium, which had its roof covered, to watch the squad being put through their paces. Here are the things he spotted going on as the North London club worked ahead of their first summer tour game. If you missed it, Destiny Udogie, Kota Takai and Mana Solomon remained at Hotspur Way for treatment, alongside Radu Dragusin, Dejan Kulusevski and Brian Gill, who are continuing their rehabilitation. Mikey Moore, Alfie Devine and Dane Scarlett were all granted permission not to travel in order to explore potential opportunities for loan moves. In Hong Kong, Dominic Solanke, who had a minor ankle injury which meant he missed out on the weekend's action at Luton, was not involved in the session, only emerging towards the end in trainers in order to take part in the signing session for some of the fans present. Kevin Danso did some individual work during the session, having come off a loan on the hour mark on Saturday in the goalless draw at Luton. Rodrigo Bentancur, who was ill at the weekend, was back and involved. After their warm-ups, the squad went through some passing drills and rondos. They were then put through some three-quarter pitch runs back and forth before the players took part in a 11 versus 11 half-pitch training game after that, with two sides that involved 4 quarters of football. There were little team talks beforehand as well, with 2 members of the previous 4-strong leadership group in each side. Christian Romero and Guglielmo Vicario were in one team with Son Heung-min and James Maddison in the other. That there was a penalty shootout that ended up bearing little relation to a normal shootout and seemed to turn into spot kick practice, but there was plenty to see from the session. The two sides had a good blend of experience and youth, and all eyes will be on whether one of them is the team that starts against Arsenal and the other starts against Newcastle in Seoul at the weekend, or whether Frank will blend them into his strongest team. The latter seems more likely when you see the spread of some of the names involved. The first team contained Vicario, Abbott, Van der Van, Romero, Spence, Bissouma, Sarr, Johnson, Bergvall, Odeberg and Richarlison. It's worth noting that Bergvall was in the more advanced number 10 role for periods rather than Sarr, who played there against Wickham. The other team featured Kinski, Porro, Vuskovic, Davies, Donley, Gray, Bentancur, Kudus, Maddison, Sun and Tell. There was no Solanke or Danso, as mentioned above, while 16-year-old centre-back Junai Byfield stood behind one of the goals ready to come in, if needed, and helped get the ball quickly back into play. Yang Min Hyok and Will Lankshear were both at the other end of the pitch, going through shooting drills of their own, with Brandon Austin and Luca Gunter. Both teams wanted to win the game, and there were some flashes of skill and some strong tackles going in. The latter was on display when Jed Spence caught Pedro Porro late after the Spaniard had passed the ball and left his fellow fullback writhing on the floor in agony for a while. Porro got up and carried on, but did look to have the slightest of limps later as he was walking out of the stadium onto the team coach. The next person to have a training session scare was Mathis Tell. The Frenchman embarked on a few surging runs, and during one of those he picked up a sore-looking knock, seemingly to his knee. That injury drew real concern from the group, as everyone gathered around the 20-year-old in a circle as he lay on the floor, and it took some time before he got up, heavily limping. Thankfully, Tell appeared to run it off, and later seemed fine when leaving the ground. The game ended in a goalless stalemate, despite some promising attacking moves and efforts around the 2 goals, with some particularly close ones from Richarlison, and that meant it was time for a penalty shootout with Austin, coming over to alternate with Vicario in goal. The first 3 penalties from Maddison, Johnson and Porro were all saved by the keepers, before Romero stroked at a calm spot kick past Austin. Tell then also scored his penalty, before Richarlison beat Vicario. The 2 teams then came in for a chat with Frank and the coaches, before some of the players returned to a shootout with Austin in goal for all the penalties the first batch. Bissouma beat Austin twice and celebrated on each occasion, getting Austin riled up with the keeper booting the ball back near him at one point. The goalkeeper did save from Bentancur, was beaten by Sarr before Porro sent his spot kick against the right-hand post. 18-year-old Luka Vuskovic powered home his effort before Gunter had a go between the sticks, only to be beaten by both Spence and Bergvall. After the session, the Tottenham players walked around the pitch, waving to the fans with Son, the most popular man on display, on his home continent. The Spurs captain was behind the main group, so got his own walk around, applauding and waving to the 10,000 supporters before signing items for some of them. The future remains uncertain for the South Korean star at Tottenham, and Frank's earlier press conference did nothing to change that. Some local fans were left wondering whether they might be seeing one of the last occasions of Son in a Spurs shirt.